Hey girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be all of the books that are releasing in January 2021 that I'm really looking forward to. Now, I always get really nervous making these lists and lists like these because I'm always worried I'm going to leave out some obvious ones that I'm looking forward to, or I'm just worried that I'm just missing out and I haven't heard about some new releases that I would be looking forward to. So if you have any releases that are coming out in specifically January of next year, definitely leave them down below, especially if I don't have them on this list, because this is not like a comprehensive list. I don't even know if I'll be able to get to all of these like next year, but I am looking forward to them. I'm putting them on my radar. I'm putting them on my want to read list on Goodreads. So without further ado, let's just get into it and talk about some really cool books that are coming out in January. So the first book on my list is Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and this cover is so cool. The publisher is Disney Hyperion, which I believe would make it a YA title, and it is coming out January 5th. So this is about the Aegon, which is a punishment for a past rebellion. So every 7 years, 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals, hunted by descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. Long ago, Lore Perseus fled that brutal world in the wake of her family's sadistic murder by a rival line, turning her back on the hunt's promises of eternal glory. For years, she's pushed away any thought of revenge against the man, now a god responsible for their deaths. Yet, as the next hunt dawns over New York City, 2 participants seek out her help. Castor, a childhood friend of Lore believed long dead, and a gravely wounded Athena, among the last of the original gods. The goddess offers alliance against their mutual enemy and at last a way for Lore to leave the Aegon behind forever. But Lore's decision to bind her fate to Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and still may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with power to bring humanity to its knees. So this is really cool. I don't know where it's going to land on the spectrum of Greek myth retelling and Greek myth reimagining, but it sounds really cool. I feel like this sounds like a slightly more grown-up version of the Percy Jackson books. The cover's gorgeous. The premise sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to it. Now the next book also has, I think, an incredibly stunning cover, but definitely in a very different vibe from the last one, and that is going to be Persephone Station by Stina Licht. And this is going to be coming out January 5th as well by Gallery Saga Press. And I believe this is a adult space opera for fans of The Mandalorian and Cowboy Bebop. You're saying space opera and you're mentioning a Star Wars canon thing? I'm in. Persephone Station, a seemingly backwater planet that has been largely ignored by the United Republic of Worlds, becomes the focus for the Seraro Orlov Corporation, as the planet has a few secrets the corporation wants to exploit. Rosie, the owner of Monk's Bar in the corporate town of West Brenner, caters to wannabe criminals and rich earther tourists of a sort at the front bar. However, there's also a back bar, members of a rather exclusive criminal class and those who seek to employ them. Angel, ex-Marine and head of a semi-organized band of beneficent criminals, wayward assassins, and washed-up mercenaries with a penchant for doing the honorable thing, is asked to perform a job for Rosie. What this job reveals will affect Persephone and put Angel and her squad up against an army, despite the odds they are rearing for the fight with this corporation. For Angel, she knows that once honor is lost, there's no regaining it, but that doesn't mean she can't damned well try. Yeah, that sounds really good. The cover just gives off a really cool grungy aesthetic, and I can definitely see where they're talking about how this has Mandalorian vibes just based on the mercenary sort of aspects. This sounds really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. I really got into sci-fi this year, so I'm looking forward to expanding my horizons with it in January. The next book on my list is Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long, and this comes out January 19th by Titan Books. And this is an epic fantasy featuring warrior priestesses and fickle gods of war, and it looks like it has like a Norse sort of feel to it, which is really cool. I've really been looking forward to that in a fantasy, especially since I've been watching my partner play Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Just that sort of vibes. This is what this book gives me, and I'm looking forward to it. But this book follows Hessa, and she's a Yangi, a warrior priestess of the goddess of war, with the power to turn an enemy's bones to dust with a scream. Banished for disobeying her goddess's command to murder a traveler, she pays for forgiveness alone on a mountainside. But while she's gone, raiders raze her village and obliterate the priesthood. Grieving and alone, Hessa, the last Yangi, must find the traveler, atone for her weakness, and secure her place with her loved ones in the high halls. As clans from the north and legionaries from the south tear through her homeland, slaughtering everyone in their path, Hessa strives to win back her goddess's favor. Beset by zealot soldiers, deceitful gods, and newly awakened demons at every turn, Hessa burns her path towards redemption and revenge. So this sounds really, really good, and it doesn't mention that it's the first in the series, so this might be a fantasy standalone as well, which I have been looking for more fantasy standalones. The next book on my list is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, and this is going to come out also January 19th by Dutton Books for Young Readers, so my guess again that this would be a YA release. I think the cover for this one looks really cool, and it's not really the sort of cover I'm normally drawn to, but I think it really fits with this. And so this is set in San Francisco's Chinatown during the Red Scare, and it's about two women who fall in love at a lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club. However, America in 1954 is not a safe place for two girls to fall in love, especially not in Chinatown. Red Scare paranoia threatens everyone, including Chinese Americans like our protagonist Lily. With deportation looming over her father, despite his hard-won citizenship, Lily and Kath risk everything to let their love see the light of day. Now, I'm not the biggest contemporary or romance reader, but I do tend to like romance stories when there are other things surrounding the romance, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like this is also going to have a lot of commentaries on certain restrictions of the age, and especially just talking about, I'm a big history buff, so the Red Scare and just the intersections of race and racial issues and racial tensions, and the struggle not only being a Chinese American during that time, but also a queer girl during that time. This just sounds like it's going to be an incredibly poignant read. Now, moving back into the fantasy realm that I'm more comfortable with, the next book I'm going to talk about is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, and M.A. Carrick is actually a pen name of authors Marie Brennan and Alec Helms. This is the first in a series called Rook and Rose, and it is going to be published the 21st by Orbit Books. So this kind of seems like it's going to be like an Italian-inspired fantasy in like a Renaissance sort of way. Possibly, I could be wrong, but this is a start to a trilogy, and it is a dazzling fantasy adventure in which a con artist, a vigilante, and a crime lord must unite to save their city. Nightmares are creeping through the city of dreams. Renata is a con artist who has come to the sparkling city of Nadezra, the city of dreams, with one goal: to trick her way into a noble house and secure her fortune and her sister's fortune. But as she's drawn into the elite world of House Trementis, she realizes her masquerade is just one of many surrounding her. And as corrupt magic begins to weave its way through Nadezra, the poisonous feuds of its aristocrats and the shadowy dangers of its impoverished underbelly become tangled, with Ren at their heart. Do I need to add more series onto the list of series that I'm trying to tackle at the moment? No, but this sounds really good, so I'm adding it to my want to read anyway. The next book looks like it's also going to be the start of a new series, and that is Rise of the Red Hand by Olivia CHADHA. And this is going to be published on the 19th, and on Goodreads it does not have a publisher, so hopefully it actually is coming out in January, but this sounds really, really cool. So this is a futuristic fantasy sci-fi series about the future of climate change in South Asia. This book is about a street rat turned revolutionary and the disillusioned hacker son of a politician. They have to try and take down a ruthlessly technocratic government that sacrifices its poorest citizens to build its utopia. So this is about the South Asian province. It's split in two. Uplanders live luxurious lives inside a climate-controlled biodome, dependent on technology and gene therapy to keep them healthy and youthful forever. Outside, the poor and forgotten scrape by with discarded black market robotics, a society of poverty-stricken cyborgs struggling to survive in slums threatened by rising sea levels, unbreathable air, and deadly superbugs. Ashiva works for the Red Hand, an underground network of revolutionaries fighting the government, which is run by a merciless computer algorithm that dictates every citizen's fate. She and the Red Hand uncover a horrifying conspiracy that the government is trying to do everything to bury. So this sounds really cool. This sounds like a very futuristic sci-fi sort of world about a utopia that's actually a dystopia, and I think it's going to have a lot to say about climate change and the privileges of climate change and stuff like that. This just sounds really, really cool. And if I didn't say at the beginning, this is going to be a part of a new series called The Mechanists. So that was all of them for January 19th. That actually looks like it's going to be a very busy publication date, I noticed, just across the board for a lot of different genres. But moving on to another cover that I think is just absolutely stunning, that is going to be Unchosen by KATHARYN BLAIR. This is coming out January 26th. 26th by KATHARYN Books. And this is a fiercely feminist fantasy with a horrifying curse, spoon-worthy sea captains, and the power of one girl to choose her own fate in this contemporary standalone adventure that's perfect for fans of the Fifth Wave and Seafire. For Charlotte Holloway, the world ended twice. The first was when her childhood crush fell in love with her older sister. The second was when the Crimson, a curse, spread through eye contact to turn the majority of humanity into flesh-eating monsters. Neither end of the world changed Charlotte. She's still in the shadows of her siblings. Her popular older sister, Harlow, now commands forces of survivors, and her talented younger sister, Vanessa, is the chosen one, who, legend has it, can end the curse. When their settlement is raided by those seeking the chosen one, Charlotte makes a reckless decision to save Vanessa. She takes her place as prisoner. The word spreads across the 7 seas, the chosen one has been found, but when her crush's life is threatened and a resistance looms on the horizon, the lie keeping Charlotte alive begins to unravel. She'll have to break free, forge new bonds, and choose her own destiny if she has any hope of saving her sisters, her love, and maybe even the world. So this sounds really cool. It has to do with one of my favorite tropes, which is it's a chosen one plot, but the main character that you're following is not the chosen one. They're just like a group of the gang with the chosen one. I think that sounds really neat. And then the final book that I have to talk to you guys about today is Don't Tell a Soul by Kirsten Miller, which is just, it's very beautiful, but it's a very off-putting cover. But as I get into the synopsis, I think you'll see why it's off-putting, but it's really cool. I really enjoy it. But I also don't enjoy it. Like, it's creepy, but that fits the vibes of this book. And this book comes out the 26th by Delacorte Press, and this is a modern day Rebecca sort of retelling. Maybe it says it's a modern day Rebecca. I don't know if it's a retelling or if it's just really inspired by Rebecca. But this is a haunting story about a new girl in an old town filled with dark secrets that just might kill her. People say the house is cursed. It preys on the weakest, and young women are its favorite victims. In Louth, they're called the Dead Girls. All Brom wanted was to disappear from her old life, her family's past, and from the scandal that continues to haunt her. The only place left to go is Louth, the tiny town on the Hudson River, where her uncle James has been renovating an old mansion. But James is haunted by his own ghosts. Months earlier, his beloved wife died in a fire that people still say was set by her daughter. The tragedy left James a shell of the man Brom knew and destroyed half the house he'd so lovingly restored. The manor is creepy, and so are the locals. The people of Louth don't want outsiders like Brom in their town, and with each passing day, she's discovering that the rumors they spread are just as disturbing as the secrets they hide. Most threatening of all are the legends that they tell about the Dead Girls, girls whose lives were cut short in the very house Brom now calls home. The terrifying reality is that the Dead Girls may have never left the manor, and if Brom looks too hard into the town's haunted past, she might not either. So I don't know if this is going to be like a true horror, or if it's just going to be a gothic story with supernatural elements, like a modern gothic, or if it's just going to be like speculative fiction, something like that, but we'll see. It sounds really intriguing. I'm looking forward to this one, like I'm looking forward to all of these. And those are just some of the books that I'm looking forward to that are releasing in January of 2021. Like I mentioned before, there are just so many books coming out every month. I'm sure I missed some, so definitely leave them down below if you have a release that you're really looking forward to coming out in January. But that is going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content from me, stay safe, stay spooky, and I'll see y'all on the other side. Bye!